Hey everybody, hope you're having a good week. Thanks for tuning into our video. This week we're going to be talking about growth hacking. So growth hacking isn't a term we coined actually. It's a pretty well accepted strategy that's used in startup companies all the time. So I want to start by just reading a definition of what growth hacking is so you can get an idea before I start diving into it. So here we go. A growth hacker is someone who uses creative, low-cost strategies to help businesses acquire and retain customers. The goal is to get a ton of new users without spending hardly any money. There is no one-size-fits-all, and it's very hard to do. It's best to practice to try something, see how it works by analyzing its success, and if it fails, try something else until something sticks. So that is the definition of growth hacking. We're going to talk about why it's important, some startups that have done it, and then we're going to talk specifically about POW and the growth hacking that we've done. So let's talk about why it's important. First things first, when you're starting off as a small company, you typically don't have a lot of money. So you got to get creative with the ways in which you get your name out there, your company's brand, and just get the ball rolling. Growth hacking is a super great way to do that because if you find a strategy that works for you where you don't have to spend a lot of money, you can keep that rolling to give your company that initial push that it needs. The second thing is that oftentimes investors like to see number growth. So whether that's 100 users, 1,000 users, or 10,000 users, usually if you get a growth hacking strategy that works for you, those type of numbers you can hit. We're not really talking in the millions and stuff, but in the thousands, you can definitely use a growth hacking strategy to up your user base and impress investors so that you can get money to then hit that 1 million user base down the line. And the last reason why it's super important is it's a great way to fail cheap. So instead of, spending a bunch of money at the beginning and then having something not work and there goes all that money down the drain, this way you're spending only a little bit of money up front, you're testing it, and if it fails, you're not completely out of money and kind of in the doghouse. So that's something really important to keep in mind at an early stage of your company when you don't have a lot of money. You don't want to lose it on one idea that you're not so sold on. So let's talk examples. The first example I want to share, a company called the Dollar Shave Club filmed a YouTube video that they released as a marketing video, but they practically spent no money on the production of it. They just got really creative and witty with the video itself, made it funny, made it relatable, made it engaging, and it actually went viral and captured a huge new audience, and they're super successful now. They have kind of a monthly subscription for shaving equipment and whatnot. So that's one example. Another example was Airbnb, just like we talked about last time. They're a great company and they used a lot of special techniques at the beginning to launch themselves. Specifically for growth hacking, they initially started linking their Airbnb listings through Craigslist. And so what they did here is used an already successful platform that had a big user base, and they used that platform to put their platform out there to basically just get some eyes on their listings. And then once people saw their listings and saw how much better they were than all of the other listings on Craigslist, the users from Craigslist easily trickled in to become users of Airbnb. Some other examples are Gmail and Pinterest. They launched with an invite-only kind of list, so you could only use their platforms if you were invited to do so. So this created an exclusivity feel around the whole company, and it made people, want to get involved. If there's a private little club, oftentimes if people are talking about it and you're not in it, you want to get in it. So that was one way they did that. And the last example that I want to talk about is Tinder. They actually hosted parties where sororities and fraternities were invited, but you had to have the app downloaded in order to get in. So this kind of goes along with that exclusivity thing, but it also was in a very targeted demographic group where they knew if a bunch of sorority girls were in on the party, they would be able to get a bunch of fraternity guys there as well. So let's get into how us at POW use growth hacking at our early stages. So one early growth hacking strategy that we came up with, it's where we texted a bunch of family and friends saying, hey, we're going to do this thing where we assign one person for as many days as we can to agree to get 10 people to download POW. That way way we can have a steady at least 10 user growth rate for a month and a half. If you're interested, let us know. And we got a bunch of family and friends coming back saying, yeah, I'd love to do that for you. And so we went into our calendar and put our family and friends' names in for each day. And then as the days rolled along, one of us from the team would text that person who was assigned that day saying, hey, it's your day, get your 10 people. And then that way we at least guaranteed a 10-person user bump every single day for a month and a half. So that was a super easy way to guarantee a upward user growth line for our graph. We eventually ran out of friends and family that we were close enough to text and say, hey, can you do this for us? And so we moved on to a new growth hacking strategy. And this was a sorority competition. So basically what we did is went into a bunch of sororities at UCLA, CU Boulder, LMU, USC. We did a walk on their Monday night meetings and said, we'll be hosting this competition. We got really cool prizes from a bunch of local businesses that sponsored us. And we said, whoever's able to get the most people to download the app by the end of the week will win one of these 3 prizes. And so we actually got a lot of people in terms of numbers, but our issue that we found is that the type of people that we were getting, since the sorority girls weren't necessarily recruiting people who were travelers and would like to use POW, a lot of it were older family members and stuff like that. We realized we weren't getting the types of users that we wanted on the app. So that was kind of a learning lesson for us. We did, good in getting numbers, but we weren't great in getting power users. So those are just 2 growth hacking strategies that we came up with, implemented, adjusted as we went, and they ended up being, I would say a success rather than a failure, but they both, were limited for a certain amount of time, but did at least help push us to that next level of user growth. We did a bunch of different growth hacking strategies from the start of our company to where we are today, and it's got us where we are today. We have not spent a lot of money on marketing, and we really just use these strategies to push us to the level that we're at. We have learned a lot from trying out these growth hacking strategies, and I want to summarize with the top 3 things that we found most important that we learned. The first is that at the end of the day, investors actually care more about people who love your product in smaller numbers rather than just having a shit ton of users. So this made us change our strategies to help focus on getting power users rather than just any user in general. The second thing that we learned is don't start marketing your product until you're fully content with it and you think users will come back to it. For example, we started, marketing POW at the early ages right after we launched our beta version, and there were still a few glitches in there that were essential functionalities to the app. So if you finally get somebody to actually download your app and, the user onboarding isn't working and they can't even log in, that's a big issue. So you need to make sure that you have a minimum viable product that you are happy to show people and get them using before you even try to get the people there in the first place. And the last learning lesson for us is that with growth hacking, you can get a ton of users, but if you don't get a ton of users who actually like your product, then they're not going to come back. So this goes along with that issue that we faced during the sorority competition growth hacking strategy. If you're not getting users on your app that want to be there, then they're going to leave eventually, and that acquisition is kind of pointless. So make sure you're targeting people who will like your app and try to growth hack to get more of them. So that's my little spiel on growth hacking. This week you guys are going to do your own mini version of growth hack. You'll be tasked with finding 10 power users to download the app. So it'll be up to you to come up with little tricks and growth hacking strategies that you can use to get these 10 power users on the app. You can try out that texting your families and friends strategy like we did. You can go through Instagram. You can make posters and put them around your local town. We're gonna list a bunch of ideas that we have had in the task so you can get more of an idea of some other little growth hacking strategies. And then you'll go out and test them out and see if you're successful. So if we're all able to get 10 power users to the app, that'll be a huge growth spurt for us this week. So let's get thinking, let's get creative. You can collab with your partner that you talked to a couple weeks back on that partnership networking task, you can reach out to somebody new, you can reach out to me. But I'm excited for this one, and I hope it works out and that you guys get to practice this strategy in person at this small level, and then later on, you know, if you join any marketing crew or a startup that's at an early stage, you'll have some insight here. So thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm here to answer everything that you have on your mind, and good luck this week. Thanks, guys.